Time now for the Bud Light Kentucky Basketball Postgame Show on ESPN Louisville Plus. Cats coverage also presented by Cox's and Evergreen Liquors, your neighborhood liquor store. Kentucky branded, your home for all things Kentucky. Carriage Ford, best by a country mile. Bear Nose Pizza, yeah, it's that good. BJ Heating and Cooling, call the experts you can trust. Barnes Auto Service, reliable repairs from bumper to bumper. Ale 8, Kentucky's original soft drink since 1926. And UPS Jobs, apply today. UPSJobs.com/WorldPort. Now, here are your hosts, TJ Walker and Zach Cantrell.
Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday to you, February 28th, 2026. And this is the Bud Light Kentucky Postgame Show on ESPN 680, ESPN Louisville Plus edition. Joining me this afternoon is one Zach Cantrell. Zach, it's weird. I know earlier this week wasn't too bad, but weird not to be talking to you at night. An early day game. We have our Saturday night. My wife and I, we weren't sure what to do with ourselves. Certainly, probably won't be anything too special, unfortunately. But that's okay. The Cats were special today. Best performance of the season. You can make a strong case for it. It's probably just between this and maybe a couple. Kentucky 91, Vanderbilt 77, and much to like there, Zach. The end was maybe a little frustrating to only come away with a 14-point win. That was a 20-point game for the majority of it. Vandy showed a few flashes, but all more impressive that Kentucky, all of those times that Vandy made a mini run, if you will, Kentucky was able to combat it and continue to extend its lead at certain points. So a lot to like. If that's the ceiling for Kentucky, and maybe not, maybe it's not the ceiling. It wasn't a perfect game. There were things to improve on, and that's what we'll talk about here on the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show. But that was good. That could get you to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament with the right matchups. That was more like it. That was a lot of fun, Zach Cantrell. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Yeah, it's weird not doing a late night game, but no, I'm actually looking forward to this. And yeah, this was, to me, and I text you this, best performance Kentucky's had all season. And that's what makes this team so frustrating, is because we have known all year that this was in them, that they could beat a team like Vanderbilt by, as you mentioned, it should have been a 20-point game. It ends up being 14, but if that's your biggest complaint, then it's a really good day for your team. Otega Oweh was the Otega Oweh we thought we'd see all season long, the SEC preseason player of the year. Nice bounce back after just a terrible showing against South Carolina the other night. Colin Chandler goes wild from three. There were talks at one point that he was going to break the rep record, maybe break the Kentucky overall record. Had 6 threes in that game. Just his best performance, and Colin Chandler deserves a ton of credit for how he's developed over the course of the season. We wondered early in the year, should he even be a star player on a Power 5 team? He has put that to rest and then some. He's been clutch all season. Today was his best all-around game. I thought Mo Diabate was great. I thought Malachi Moreno was able to establish the inside. And it was the complete role reversal of the first game against Vanderbilt, where they got down early in that game, never had a chance. They were up 20 in the first half. And for a team that we know doesn't play first halves particularly well all season, that was a very encouraging sign. Shooting, 59% for the entire game. That's more like it from the Kentucky side of things. This is one of the rare times that there's really not a whole lot to complain about. The way that this team has played all season long, I think it shows what this team is capable of. And again, that's why they're frustrating, because I could easily see them being a one-and-done team, but I could see them being a team that gets to the second weekend with the way that they played today. Not saying it's going to happen, but we've now seen a propensity. 2 wins against Tennessee, road win at Arkansas, home win against Vanderbilt. They've shown that they can play well and show up in some of these big games. And I think today was their best all-around game of the season, and what a time for it on the last day of February.
March is tomorrow. You're exactly right. So if there's a time to turn it on and give Kentucky fans, and what has been a pretty brutal season, obviously seasons can be worse, and we've seen some. This isn't the bottom of the barrel, but there's been some bad moments. To have a little bit of optimism, that's good. Way to go, Mark Pope. Zach, I go back to it frequently here on the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show. And if you'd like to get in touch, look at the bottom there. Direct message Justin Sofaro on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. We certainly don't care, and we can get you in touch. It's not your normal ESPN 680 call-in show tonight or today. which I know there's some people turning that aren't as social media savvy, Zach Cantrell, that are turning on the dial and not hearing us, and probably not too happy about that after a big Kentucky win. But folks, we're on the YouTube. Tell the older people in your lives that we switch on over to the YouTube every so often on ESPN Louisville Plus. But you can direct message Justin Sofaro, and he'll get you on the show for row. And we'd love to hear from you for row. All right, so this is a huge turnaround win. 80-55 was the score in Nashville. And Zach, for as frustrating as things have been at different times this season, it is good to show some fight. And I thought that they were the aggressors throughout this game. I like seeing that. Modi Abate set a really hard screen. And I don't know. I like seeing this team have a little bit of attitude. And unfortunately, I do think they have to see good things happen. They can't just bring this night in and night out. They have to see shots go in, and then they get a little confidence to them. And that's not totally – most teams do that. It's maybe the special teams that can keep their head up 24/7, 365. But when this team gets down, they play a little bit softer. They play a little bit more timid. I thought they got a pretty solid whistle until the final 4 minutes, and that's also kind of natural in blowouts. But the Colin Chandler three, that was somewhat controversial. I can see why they called it for what it was worth. I just hate taking away a 3-pointer off the board because of it. I don't think it was egregious enough to do that. Just don't call anything. Colin will do that frequently. That was overextended, if we're just being totally honest. But I do think refs let it go more times than not, Zach. But I love the fight. I think it says something about these guys that they were able to give Vandy hey, that was bad. That was a total beatdown in Nashville, which unfortunately Kentucky fans are used to as of late. But hey, we're going to turn that around this March, aren't we? SEC tournament just not even 2 weeks away. What, 10 days away, 11 days away, whatever it is. We don't know what Kentucky's seed is going to be, but they are almost certainly not going to be starting on Wednesday. You needed to win at least one. I do think there is a scenario they still could. I don't know that for certain. I could look that up here if I get some time, but running a post-game show, so I'll have to figure that out. But you're most likely, almost certainly going to start on Thursday, unless young Zach, you win on Tuesday at Texas A&M, and then you come back and you play as well at Rupp Arena a week from today that you did tonight. And if you're 3-0, again, it's not totally set in stone, but I think the odds are in your favor to start on Friday. And wouldn't that be something with how herky-jerky this season has been with the SEC standings? So nothing but good things today. Even the negatives, again, we'll talk on them, we'll touch on them. We're not blind butt slappers, but this is more like it heading into March, giving you a little bit of hope that maybe Kentucky can do just a little bit of something here in March.
Yeah, that's one you needed, and this 3-game stretch was crucial because you needed to win at least one of them, really, to make sure that you're not playing on Wednesday. So in all likelihood, Kentucky's going to start on Thursday. Outside chance, though, Florida tonight could just wrap up the SEC regular season title. Not saying their motivation is going to be a problem, but if you can go win at Texas A&M, you're going to be playing on Senior Day with something on the line as far as seeding, as far as the opportunity to play on Friday. And to me, that's almost kind of it's not house money game because there's no such thing as house money when you're the Kentucky Wildcats. But that could be kind of a house money game when you're going up against a Florida team that's one of the best in college basketball. But they're going to face Texas A&M on Tuesday, and that's one where A&M's a bubble team, really has kind of stumbled as of late. You have a chance now to win some tiebreakers. Now you're a full game up on Vanderbilt. You got a chance to get potentially at least a game up on Texas A&M. If you go on the road and win that, that's going to be a hostile environment, and it would be just like Kentucky to play great today and then not show up on Tuesday against the Aggies. That's the concern. But this team shows what the ceiling of Kentucky can be in the NCAA tournament, and again, that's why they're frustrating. But when you see Malachi have 11, 6, and 5, when you see Otega Owe just be unstoppable taking the ball to the basket, it seemed like there was just a free open. It was like the parting of the Red Sea on the Vanderbilt side of things for him to be able to take the ball to the basket, which really got opened up because Colin Chandler made some outside shots. I thought their shot selection was great. I really can't look at too many possessions and say, oh, that was a bad shot, whether it went in or not. The looks were solid. The aggressiveness was there. really from the outside of this game. Vanderbilt only led once. That was by 1 point early in the game. Kentucky took complete control from start to finish. Most impressive performance. And, Vanderbilt is a good team. I know they've stumbled as of late, but that's a really good team. And you won a game where the other team shot 52% because you shot 59%, because you went 20 for 25 at the free throw line, because you knocked down your threes, because you forced turnovers. You were the more aggressive team on a consistent basis throughout the entirety of the game. And I was very impressed. And now you're right. The ceiling of this team, I think the general feeling of this team is very different just based on, they beat South Carolina on Tuesday, but I'll admit that I was a little bit harsh on that game because, look, I expected what I saw today. That's what I thought I might see on Tuesday against South Carolina, but you'd rather play like this against a better team. So they answered, I think, a lot of questions. Doesn't solve everything, obviously, because this still isn't the standard of Kentucky basketball on a regular night in, night out basis. But this is what Kentucky basketball is supposed to look like the way they played today.
Did you block Larry Vaught's headlamp on the text machine, Zach?
No, I don't. Why would I have done that?
Are you a text machine blocker?
No, who says that?
Well, according to Larry Vaught's headlamp, that's who said it. We can't take phone call. Well, again, you can DM Justin Soferone. We've got a couple people ready to go, and we'll throw it over to him here in just a moment. But do want to give a shout out. This is the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show on ESPN 680, ESPN Louisville Plus, and the UPS Jobs text line, which I don't have access to tonight, 502-437-9680. All right, so Kentucky roll call listeners, for what it's worth, Tom Leach, he called it all week, and I made a little bit of a big deal about that, and I felt silly doing it, but I was right because I was like, Tom Leach doesn't really call his shot like this unless he actually has a good feeling. And all week, that dude, the GOAT of UK broadcasting, and look, I'm a big fan of UK broadcasting. I've got K-Wood up there in the background. When he feels good about something, it's worth monitoring. And he said all week he thought Kentucky was going to have a really good performance today. And boy, was he right. And I hope that they have it on Tuesday, Zach. I think one thing that you said that I totally agree with, and every Kentucky fan agrees with, is you have no idea what to expect from UK on Tuesday. Despite this good performance, you'd like to think that, all right, let's get the ball rolling again. We've seen this team get hot before. Let's get hot once more. And they could come back and just as likely lay a stinker. But nothing but opportunity ahead of you. And I hope this team takes advantage of it more times than not this year after the turn of the calendar. They haven't been perfect on it, but more times they've most of their losses, the most frustrating ones, have been kind of maybe sleepwalk games. One that you could overlook Missouri, and they really shouldn't have, obviously, with the way they shouldn't overlook anybody with the season that they've had. But you could overlook Missouri on a sleepy late start at Rupp Arena. You could overlook Georgia in that game, and Georgia was a bit hungrier than you were. But when this team has been locked in, again, not all season. December was pretty brutal, but they've been much better, and they can go late in a shot clock as well, which I think says a lot about this team. That matters in postseason play when things get tight and you get late in a shot clock. A lot of teams can just kind of throw up some junk, and sometimes throwing up junk is Colin Chandler. And folks, he's like right there in Deron Lamb territory. And I get a little weirded out with the arch in the shot with how high it goes. It's beautiful when it goes in, but I'm just expecting it to go in. And I tweeted, Zach, you mentioned that Vandy only had the lead once tonight, and that was after the first two possessions. Kentucky scores, Vandy comes down and hits a three, and Colin Chandler, he missed the three to get things going. And I tweeted, I was like, I was surprised that he missed. He's in that territory where you're just surprised if it doesn't go in. And that's a pretty special territory to be in. He needs to continue to stay hot. That is huge for Kentucky's offense. It looked like a good offense. And it's just as simple as that. When UK is hitting outside shots, they're good. And when they're not, we've certainly seen them struggle. All right, Zach, Arkansas on the road, Tennessee on the road, Tennessee at home in the Denim, and then tonight a blowout, which 14 points doesn't look as bad, but that game was never close. It was never in doubt. So
Right.
rank those for me. Those are the Mount Rushmore of Kentucky wins this season. The IU one, whatever. They may miss the tournament. Those bums. They may miss the tournament. But out of those four, how would you rank them?
Satisfaction, it's still Arkansas on the road. It's still beating John Calipari. It's bouncing back from last year's game where you lost at home to them, and that was a game that no one gave them a chance to win. That's still number one for me. I would say the Tennessee game on the road, then this game, then the Tennessee home game.
I would say the Arkansas win is just not going to get topped probably this season unless Kentucky maybe
The
wins
NCAA tournament will do that.
Well, round of 32 win would do that. I'm not doing it for a bum. I don't know. I guess a first round win, but you're expected to win a first round win. You weren't totally expected to go on the road to Fayetteville and win that game. So that one's going to be number one for me unless they win a round of 32 game. And then to advance to the Sweet 16, that would be better. If they win the SEC semifinal game, depending on who it is, who knows? Who knows what the season has in store? If they blow out Florida, that could potentially surpass it. But I do think maybe the emotional aspect of beating Calipari will reign supreme unless this team does go on a run, which they can do. They looked solid tonight. That was a good performance. They were mostly locked in for that game. And again, they were the aggressors. They were the ones sticking it to Vandy. That hasn't been the case all season. That leads to confidence in shooting. I have no doubt about there's a snowball effect with all these things in the game of basketball. All right, the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show with Zach Cantrell and TJ Walker. Justin Sofaro, DM him if you'd like to get on the show. We've got Bug first. Bug, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, not much. Happy Catter Day around these parts. It's just funny how the whole weekend will be better now with a Kentucky win.
Good day to be a part of BBN.
Yeah. Don't really have too much to complain about. I think they played great. Chandler was on fire in the first half. I mean, he couldn't miss. Their defense was really good in the first half. I think it kind of slacked off in the last 10 minutes a little bit, but not enough to really affect the win. The only thing that I have to complain about it is still like Pope's substitutions in the first half. I don't know, we was up on 9, and he subbed in 4 guys. That's just, man, and you know how it is when the 4 guys come in, it's a drop off. It didn't really hurt us today, but you can tell that there's just a talent separation there when them 4 guys come in. Other than that, I think they played great.
Yeah, in a big win, I'm not going to get too disappointed with the substitution patterns, but that has been concerning all season. Looking at the minutes breakdown, Aberdeen, 37 minutes. You have to have him on the floor, so we like that. 34 minutes. Gosh, I thought for sure that he totally tore up his knee or ankle or something like that when he went down there. 34 minutes for him. We're cool with that. 31 for Chandler. Maybe you want that to be a little bit more. I was all right with it, Bug. Bug, either you can hang on or we'll give you like 20 seconds parting words, but we've got Mark Pope, so we need to throw it over to him.
All right, no, I'm good. Go Cats.
Go Cats, baby. Big weekend. All right, here is Mark Pope brought to you by Ale 81, Kentucky's original ginger soft drink since 1926. The Cats win, and Ale 81 is the best. Here we go.
All right, great environment. It's March. We're minutes away from March. Big time game. BBN turned out. Vanderbilt played great. Shot the ball great. And so I'm proud of our guys. It was a fun contest. Fire away. Hit me with questions.
Coach, I want to ask about Denzel. It's been a bit of an up and down season for him, but this is his 6th straight game in double digits. What have you seen from him really in this second half of conference play that's allowed him to be so consistent?
Yeah, I'm so impressed with him. We've talked about this story all season long, but he came in here to do one job, and he's doing a totally different job than he expected, we expected, anybody expected, and he's grown into, in the last 2 games, you think about on the road in the SEC and at home against a really, really good Vanderbilt team. He's 9-0. Like, that's hard to do. It's two teams that really pressure and really give you different looks, against two of the best steel guards in our league in terms of, Vanderbilt's backcourt. So he's been incredible. He makes big shots. He's really poised. He had a couple of unbelievable driving last night, and I think his defensive effort is getting overlooked a little bit because in the last 2 games he's been so good defensively, and he's just making every play.
Mark, I'm curious, what can it do for your team's psyche to know they went to Nashville and got hammered by 25, come back and almost flip the tables on them completely? What can that do, especially this late in the year?
I don't know if the guys are reading into that. I just know that right now we want to keep growing as a basketball team and getting better, and we think we can. We think we are getting better. We shot the ball extremely well tonight. We handled some issues that we knew we were going to have to handle going into the game. I thought the guys were really, really locked in, and we gave up some things, but it was in the process of taking away other things. So I think we're just growing.
Mark, during the pregame radio show with Tom, I think he asked you about Colin, and you talked about watching him as a recruit and a high school player. To see the performance that he did now, how much of his potential has he realized with the way he's able to shoot the ball, and how much does he still have to grow and where he can elevate his game based on a performance like that?
Yeah, he's got so much. He got so much more, doesn't he? And the thing is he's just 6 for 8 tonight. Is that right? 6 for 8, really 7 for 9. And nobody that's watched him is surprised. Is anybody surprised? I mean, a week ago he was the #1 three-point shooter in the SEC, and so it's crazy that a guy goes 6 for 8 and nobody's surprised. It's just like that's what he does, and he's got a calmness and a poise, and he's getting more. He's always been, we've talked about this a lot. He's always been confident, but he's just getting more and more comfortable, and his ceiling is incredibly high. Like, he's got so much more in the tank. Probably the best play was, we got to a high ball screen, and DA had a great driving line against Tanner Tyler, and then Colin was like, oh, that looks cool, let me get a shot at that, and 2 possessions later he gets exactly the same play, makes the exact same play, and that's fun watching your guys grow.
Coach here in the back, a little bit off topic, but recently Muhammad put out a video about how he was preparing for your last game, and he's obviously observing Ramadan, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on it as a man of faith yourself, and if you guys are doing anything special to kind of keep his energy levels good during games like this. Yeah, we've talked about it as a team, and I think when you sacrifice, literally when you make things sacred, you hope you spend your whole life making things sacred. And he is making this sacred. And when you sacrifice to make things sacred, the payoff sometimes is rewarded by great play. Sometimes it's just like inside yourself. But you always get payoff for making things sacred. It takes a lot of work and sacrifice to make things sacred, but that's what he's doing. I have unbelievable respect for him. You think about, so just what he's doing, and to do it, at this point in season, and there's nobody that's making him do it. It's just a sign of his devotion to his faith, and he's not even, his personal choice is to not even rinse out his mouth during games. So you can imagine he got up this morning and had a full shoot around, and then rested, and then had a full game where, he comes out here and plays 24 minutes in a really, really competitive game, and is incredibly physical, and never even rinses his mouth out, and won't for the next 5 hours until he eats again. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think when people make commitments like that, and they sacrifice to make things sacred, I think it's special, and it's just who he is. So I could talk about that for days, because I'm really proud of him, and he just is it's just a great sign. We should all be taking things in our life and making them sacred. And Leanna's like, would you stop? Please stop. Sorry.
Mark, it's a horrid sports writing cliche that veteran guards win in March.
Yeah.
You're going into March with 2 seniors and a 4th-year sophomore.
Yeah.
How big an advantage can that be for you?
It's important. I think, you look at this season this year, and there's some young teams that are really winning huge also with young backcourts. It's just us. It's who we are. It's been fun
Otega Owe, you think he walks into the season as the preseason SEC Player of the Year. So how do you grow from that? Like, you're supposed to be the best player in the league. But for everybody that's really been paying attention, it's been incredible to watch him grow. And he's sitting there, with 6 points somewhere, halftime-ish, and a little bit of frustration, but he is trying to make plays for guys, but there's a little frustration. It's just like, if you stay in this game's going to come back to you, and like he magically does, he ends up, with another 23-point game, and watching him kind of grow into that, like, rarefied air understanding of the game is pretty fun. So these veteran guards are fun to coach.
Mark, over here, kind of a two-part question. First being, just how big of a tone setter was it for you guys to come out and play the way that you did in the first half, especially with as many times this season as you guys have been on the opposite end of kind of a double-digit deficit? And then secondly, when you come out of halftime, there was no let-up, and you guys kept that level.
I'll tell you, I was proud of the 46-45 second half. I was really proud of that. That's with us not, playing far from perfect, but making enough plays. I was really proud of the guys for staying really aggressive. As Vanderbilt tried to extend the press, and our guys just attacked it. It's what we do when we're at our best. There was not second guessing. Guys were super aggressive against the press, and we ended up with 4 or 5 layups, a couple of N1s, just with our guys making great aggressive decisions. And that's how you want your guys to feel. You don't want them to feel like they're on their heels, and they did a nice job with that.
Mark, you all shot under, 30% in the last 2 games from behind the arc, but today you shot 50%. How big is that for your team's confidence going into the final week of the season?
It's fun to make shots. It makes life easier. We never think we win or lose because we make or miss shots, but it is fun to make shots. And I don't know. I think we're probably the second best 3-point shooting team in the conference. What are we right now, Deb? We're second. Yeah. So we shoot. We make shots. That's the way this team was put together, and it's what we do, and it's what we're doing, and so we trust that we'll make shots, and our guys have done it.
Mark, I think on Thursday.
Did we get this young man back here? Oh, okay. Fair enough. Okay.
Mark, I think on Thursday your exact quote is, "We're not as efficient from 36 to 38 as we are from 32 to 34."
Yeah.
How pleased were you with the showing tonight, being able to keep Owe at 34, getting 30 out of Colin and some of those other guys kind of filling bigger roles?
Well, I didn't do a great job with DA. DA's 37, but he handled it. He managed it really well. He really, really managed it well. I think you saw some of those really explosive plays from O down the stretch, and he seemed comfortable. He probably could have played a couple more minutes. I thought Jasper was really good. I like Jasper a lot tonight. Jasper comes at us with 0 turnovers and against a backcourt that's really, one of the best turnover-creating backcourts in our league. So I thought Jasper was great off the bench. Trent gave us some really quality minutes off the bench. I thought AJ was great starting the game, and BG helped us off the bench. BG has given us something on the glass and defensively, and so our bench matters, and I thought those guys were good. And if we can stay in this space, that's our golden kind of number. If we can stay somewhere between 32 and 36, we have a chance to operate at our very best.
Mark, you talked about Mo's sacrifice. Colin put his own career on hold for 2 years for a mission trip. You just got Avery back from a mission trip. How does all that have nothing to do with basketball? Does it make you appreciate basketball more, the guys, you think?
I think so. I think it does. I think it makes you appreciate it, and I think it also gives you some perspective. And I think it's, yes. The answer is yes. I could talk about it for an hour, but I'm just going to say yes. Because you're saying stop talking so much.
Were there any stretches where you felt the game could have...
Just real quick, just to emphasize that. You guys know there was a moment where I talked a little bit too much. I don't know when it was, a week or so ago, and it was really expensive. So we're trying to, we're trying to work on a budget here, and I kind of ruined that. So Leanne is fully justified in saying, would you just stop? Okay, sorry, young man, go ahead.
Were there any stretches where you felt the game could have slipped away, and how did you refocus your team?
Yeah, great question, by the way. That's an excellent question. There were a lot of moments, but you're working on yourself as a coach, just like you're working on your guys to stay aggressive. So there are times when you think you're in a good spot, and your instinct is to pull back and be more conservative, and you're usually wrong when you do that. Usually it's like prevent defense in football. It usually prevents you from winning, right? And so our guys did an unbelievable job. I think our staff did a really good job of staying aggressive in those moments in the second half where you're kind of not nursing a lead, but you're trying to play the game. And I thought our guys were excellent at that. So there's a lot of moments where you catch yourself, where you kind of got to readjust your thing and say, stay aggressive, stay aggressive, stay aggressive, keep making plays. And I think that contributed to our guys' success. Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Mark Pope on the AL 8-1, Kentucky's original ginger soft drink since 1926 press conference. Oh boy, I hate being somewhat negative, but that was cheesy.
That was the corniest press conference of the season, for sure.
Dude,
He's feeling himself.
He blew a little two-finger kiss at his wife. He did a little two-finger smoochie at his wife, Zach Cantrell.
Yeah. Yes, he did. Well, that's what happens when you beat Vandy by 2 touchdowns, I guess. He's just really feeling himself. Oh, we won. Oh, this is great. Oh, I'm not worried about getting fined this week. Oh, not the two-finger smooch. No.
I'm not going to curl up in bed and kill myself tonight. I'm doing two-handed smoochies.
We're going to go celebrate tonight. Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. Even and Zach, this is something that you bring up on your shows and that you've brought up on the postgame show as well. And it's obvious. He is just so, and every coach is to a certain degree, but like the differences between when UK is winning versus when they're losing is maybe as extreme as you'll see in coaching. Mick Cronin's always a prick, so he's just always insufferable. He doesn't really have it doesn't matter if they're winning, you know?
Right. And they didn't today, so I'm waiting to see what his press conference is going to sound like because they went on the road and lost to Minnesota. So probably today it's, I can't believe the Big Ten is scheduling us late in February to go play up in Minneapolis or something like that. So he's going to complain about that. But no, that Pope is very different in wins versus losses. And it's fine with me because, I mean, as far as I end up cutting later press conferences and they're like 5 minutes, makes my job easier. But I would rather hear Mark Pope. Look, cheesy works when you win. Nobody cares, or we can make jokes about it, but people can at least find it funny when you go out and beat Vanderbilt by 2 touchdowns. When you're losing, then you're just corny, it's cheesy, the act's getting old. I mean, just look at the team across the street. That act's starting to get old pretty quickly.
Oh.
That's what happens when you win. When you win,
and again,
you can get away with that.
You're right. I'm all right with it. Just keep winning and blow smoochy kisses all you want. We're totally cool with it. Because she wants me to stop talking. Can you believe it? Oh, just keep winning, and we can live with it. We'll be all right with it. We've got to do a U of L check-in, though, with our buddy Justin Sofaro. Justin, how you holding up there, pal?
I'm trying not to get fined. I have a history of being too vocal in my opinions about Louisville, and I'm gonna try to play it safe today. But he can't win the big one. He can't win any big ones. Not the big one, any big ones. Not one.
No, don't play it safe. Go after him.
He'll beat all the bums, and that's fine. If that makes you feel good, it's good for a year or two. We'll see. If he can't win, if PK can't win a game in the tournament this year, which I'll believe it when I see it. As well as next year, if you can't, because regardless of how mad people want to be, neither of these coaches are going anywhere for a couple years or so, at least I would say. But if he can't win a game of merit against a coach of merit who's in a stage of decency, because like Baylor this year, doesn't count. That's fine. You beat him, but otherwise. There's nobody of credit right now that there's no game that Pat Kelsey can really lean his head on, and I'm just kind of
I see what you're doing, and on a day that Kentucky gets a top 25 win, I'm not so sure that I appreciate you taking some small little pot shots because maybe Mark Pope's not going to do anything this year, probably isn't going to do anything this year. But you never know. And,
I meant like the programs aren't going to do anything this year to move them on. They're not going to fire them. That's what I'm saying. But I
see what you're saying. Okay, well then, you're absolutely right about that. And then secondly, you did beat Kentucky this year. That win's your best win. It's not a terrible win. All right, put a little respect on that win. weeks ago.
I felt good at the beginning of the year. I felt good. The problem is there's a whole lot of Chris Mack on Pat Kelsey. They come from the Prosser line. Everybody wants to talk about Prosser, a coach who's never done bleep. Oh, I can say shit on here. A coach that's never done shit, but everybody loves Prosser. But Chris Mack and Pat Kelsey both seem to, they do all right at the beginning of the season, and then by the end, they fall off. They're not gonna win the damn thing in the postseason. So I'm still, as you can tell, I'm flustered. I'm coping right now. There's a whole lot of cope. So I'm coping with Pope right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm just listening.
Yeah. There we go.
You're burning down everything. You're taking shots at the dead. It's bad form to speak ill of the dead, Justin.
Well, I got nothing for you. I got nothing to come back on that. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm tired of hearing about Prosser.
We'll what they call a dead fish. We'll throw that over to caller John. John, welcome into the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show with Zach Cantrell and TJ Walker. Happy Saturday, buddy.
What's up, TJ and Zach?
What's going on, buddy? Big day today.
What'd you find in that story?
Big day today.
John's doing storage.
Oh man, speaking of that,
it's pretty cool. Stick with us, but on the YouTube after this, you can go check out his storage wars. But did you see anything cool? And then we can talk cats.
Yeah, I found some cool stuff, a China hutch and like I guess this is a roll, or I forgot what they call it, a roll desk or whatever. It's got like one of the old hotel kind of desk where you can roll up the top and all that kind of stuff. So that stuff's pretty cool. And at least bring some money. It's heavy, but I've been selling. I'm already up $120 on my units. I made $120 so far. I've been selling a little online and a little bit in the garage or yard sale today. I'm actually still selling today. There's no one here right now, but I sold a lot of pieces though. I sold a mini fridge. I had a mini fridge I got. So
that's great. That's great. What'd you think about the game today, John?
Business, man.
That's awesome.
Hey, okay. Zach mentioned earlier about Colin. Look, I mean, I think we talked about this before, like people coming back next year who would really want back. And then there was even mention, I don't say you guys said this, but I'm saying I might have heard on another show, but they were talking about like, well, yeah, we would want Colin back, but maybe we don't want to spend too much for Colin. And I'm not saying we should overspend for Colin, but you're probably going to have to put up a few more extra bucks than you did this season to get him to come back in. Because he's playing like he deserves a few more dollars. And I'm not saying a bunch, but a few more bucks won't be too bad. This guy was a pretty good player in Utah back in 23, apparently. So I don't know, guys. What do you guys think about that? Is that somebody that you'd be upset if you found out they paid him a little bit more?
Absolutely not. Let's play the Mark Stoops pony up audio. Pony up for that dude.
Pony up for Chandler.
He is an important piece. Now, he should not be your best player, and hopefully Kentucky's not in a financial situation where the finances come out where he ends up being your best player. That would be that'd be bad. But that being said, if he can play a similar role this year, the surrounding talent is ideally better, then he is incredible. His three-point shooting is really spectacular. And I'm sure Corey Price has probably tweeted out the percentages. I don't have them in front of me right now, but it seems like he's shooting well above 50% in SEC play. Maybe he's not, and he took that half-court heave that nearly went in today to hurt his percentages ever so slightly. But he's fun to watch, and then he does the little things right as well. He only had one turnover today. Spoiler alert. I guess since we're talking about it, John, I'll just go ahead and make him my Twin Peaks player of the game. Eats, drinks, scenic views. Have you ever been to Twin Peaks, John?
No, I have not been to Twin Peaks. How fun is it?
You got to do a food review at Twin Peaks. I think you'd really get a kick out of it.
Okay.
It's kind of like Hooters.
For sure.
Hooters meets Buckhead sort of deal, but the food is if you catch my drift.
Let me ask you, the food is what, TJ?
Nothing. Go ahead. What question you got? We'll move on from that.
Let me ask you this. Okay, what do you think turned the tables for Chandler during this season? Because I know at the beginning of the season it's kind of like slow getting, and we weren't for sure, and everybody was like, well, maybe he'll do something. there's something that clicked for him. And I think, is it arguably safe for me to say he has been the most consistent, I better step up for this team or this team's going to fold player. And I think that's true across the board. Nothing to take away from Owe and the rest of the players. But I'm just saying he has shown more consistency, especially the clutch situations for our team. And I don't think any of us, including myself, I said it for sure, did not think Colin Chandler was going to be that dude or someone we were going to be looking at in the middle, towards the end of this season, like, oh, he's this, that guy. So what do you think was the turning point there? And I'll just say, before I say that, and I'll say my last little part here and then just hang up so someone else can get on. But also just one other thing, answer that question for me. And then also, what about my picks for the rest of the week coming up next week? We're going to go 2-0. We're going to go 2-0, and we're going to shock the world. I think this team can do something, man. We're going to make it Sweet 16 or higher. We'll see.
Wow.
All right, guys.
I love it, John. I hope that you're right. If that happens, it would really be a big blue. CATS, baby. Go big blue, blue-white. The blue-white looks solid on TV. I saw pictures of people at the game. Looked pretty good there as well. So well done to the Rupp Arena folks. The crowd sounded great. This felt like this needed to be a CBS game. This needed to be 2 o'clock on CBS as you head into March tomorrow. Just a matter of minutes, said Mark Pope. Really, hours, minutes, same thing. Who cares? Let's hope the world's in one place, Zach Cantrell, when that comes around.
Right.
John, to answer your question, basketball is a beautiful game, and it's one big dance. And Kentucky has had such a tough time finding its feet or finding its rhythm this year with the different injuries and Jalen Lowe, will he or won't he? And then Cam Williams exits, which, by the way, it sounds like he's potentially going to enter soon. Maybe we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the team just had a tough time knowing where to be on the floor, just to put it more simply. Just who goes where. These are all relatively new pieces. Not a ton of these guys have played with one another. You don't know who's running point. Mark Pope's substitution patterns have been erratic, to say the least. We want them to be more consistent and a little bit better, and he hasn't been. He's getting better. I know Bug had an issue with the rotations today. I really didn't, but when you win comfortably, I guess it's easier to let things go or maybe look past things. But when you do a minutes breakdown, I certainly don't have an issue with anything today. But it's just, they took some time to get to figure out where to be. And Colin Chandler, how he's always set, he's comfortable. He's ready to just let that thing rip once he catches it. His teammates, there's more chemistry among them where they're throwing it in the shooting pocket. That's the key word in college basketball this year. But there is something to it that it just allows you to get that shot off a little bit quicker and a little bit more comfortably. And he just always looks in control. And you got to remember, he had to step away from basketball for 2 years to take a mission trip, not a missionary trip, a mission trip. And couldn't play basketball. I remember the big story was, like, I think he said once every year or maybe once every 6 months, he was able to do a little half court action, but he was never in a place where he had a full court gym. So that's going to obviously add some rust to a developing young gentleman into the sport of basketball. That should be when you're hitting near your peak, or not, I guess your peak would probably be in your 20s, but that's when you take a big jump as an athlete and you're growing up as a man. And he wasn't playing basketball or really lifting or working out during that time. So I think last year, and he showed some good flashes last year, but I think last year was an entire season of shaking the rust off, and you're seeing the benefits. And, I wouldn't be shocked if potentially he tested the NBA draft waters, because there's no harm in doing that. He could do that. I do think it's fair. We get a lot of this on roll call, Zach. I don't think it's impossible that BYU is going to make a big money play at him and play the religion angle potentially. But people near the program at UK say that Mark Pope and Colin Chandler are like this. And
right.
Say, like, all right, what's your evidence of that? Well, they obviously are very, very close. Just personally, they have a very, very good relationship. But it's worth mentioning, he committed to Kentucky to follow Pope pretty much sight unseen. He was still, I'm pretty sure, on a mission trip when he committed to Kentucky, or at least maybe just getting back or in that. But I'm fairly certain he didn't visit UK. It just said, all right, Pope, you're going to Kentucky. Well, I'm going with you. And then now he's turned him into a player that is shooting over 44%. I just had it pulled up on the season. Here it is, 43% from deep. That's really good. And I'll pull up some of the other UK basketball players historically, but that's going to be up there. And in conference play, I guarantee you that's at least 5 percentage points better, but I'm still looking up that and seeing where I can find that. But Zach, he is a important piece. You need to pay for him. He shouldn't be your best player, but he should be an important player. And you can make a case he's won Kentucky more games this season than anybody. Now, obviously, Otega getting 20 points consistently goes a really long way. But if you're talking about individual plays, he has so many. I know you've rattled them off before, but he is, and he's fun to watch. He gets better. Seems like he cares. You don't have to worry about effort with him. Defensively, he could improve, but and he can just go cram on a dude too. White boy's got a little sauce.
He about did today. He almost dunked on Okereke. Like, that would have just brought the roof down if he'd been able to do that. But Colin Chandler has developed as well as anybody on this team. And you're right. He's won more games probably than anybody as far as just late game execution. Otega's their most important player. But Colin Chandler, in crunch time, I trust him with the ball in his hands. I trust him with an open shot because he's been able to do it on a consistent basis. I think that's been one of the stories of this Kentucky season, is the continued development of Colin Chandler. That's the success story. If you want to look at Mark Pope and one of the things that he's done right this season, that is certainly one of them. And today I thought he was also the Twin Peaks player of the game. You could go with Otega. He's in the conversation as well. I mean, again, he just attacked the paint with reckless abandon, did a terrific job. They did a really nice job opening up the lane for him. Mo Diabate had some great screens. Valkai had some screens. But Colin Chandler was the guy that really got this thing going. And he could have had, 8 or 9 threes if they'd been a little bit more aggressive toward it. But he made 6, and he has continued to develop. I've been really impressed with Colin Chandler. And like we said at the start of the season, we didn't know if he was a playable starter. Now he's become pretty much an invaluable member to this team. I think if, God forbid, he somehow got hurt, they would have a really difficult time replacing him. And that's not something that I would have thought was on the table a couple months ago.
My friend group, they are mad at Mark Pope that Colin Chandler doesn't shoot enough. And he's right now, if he's not set, he's really not that great of a scorer. And that's where he really needs to improve his game next year, is doing that shot fake, putting it on the floor, and that little Emmanuel Quickly floater. If he can get that down, he's a special college basketball scorer. And there's really no reason he can't do it, because he has athleticism. He's got a decent first step there, and he can do it. It's just a touch thing. So he'll get better. He'll improve. I feel confident that it'll be in Kentucky blue and white and not BYU blue and white. So, and he'll be a fun piece to retain, but he'll have other big games this year, and he'll have other big moments. And as he continues to improve, you're going to start seeing defenses focus on him, which should ideally make life a little bit more easier for Otega Owe and Denzel Aberdeen. And Kentucky can become somewhat hard to guard with the way this offense is starting to morph. And then if you get Colin Chandler, if you get Cam Williams back and you throw him into the fold, that's really going to be maybe a fun offense at March. Now, how realistic is it that Cam Williams is totally with it 110%? Probably unlikely. But the way that he can spread the floor and knock down 25-footers, Zach, you just 10 minutes of that is helpful to the offense. And then if you can give these guys a little bit of a breather so they can go 110% when they're in there, you want Cam Williams back as soon as you can get him, assuming, obviously he's not a total and complete liability. But his length helps him defensively. He's never been the quickest dude in the world. He'll make up some ground with his length. So it's not like you're going to, if he's not as fast, it's really the end of the world. You don't rely on him for his athleticism. You do for his shooting and a little bit of extra length defensively, which helps. So you want him back, and you can see this offense start to grow.
I think if you get Cam Williams back, he's as much of an impact defensively. And as you said, if he just plays for 10, 15 minutes and he can give Otega and Aberdeen and some of these guys some rest, because that's going to be the thing, especially if they win a tournament game, you're going to have a quick turnaround. You don't want guys getting tired in the second game of a potential March Madness run. That could be an issue for them. So do you get Cam Williams back? That's another depth piece. That's a guy that's a legitimate shooter, a good defensive guy. That would be a huge addition to a team that, look, what have we seen in March? What is the relying thing in March every year. Teams with good guards go far in the NCAA tournament. Kentucky has that with Owe and Aberdeen, two veteran guards, and now they got a good wing in Colin Chandler. They have a lot of the pieces that have proven to be successful in the NCAA tournament in years past. Not saying that that's what's going to happen. Not saying they're going to the Sweet 16, Final Four, anything like that. But you can see the foundation, and at least you can see kind of on the floor what it would look like if Kentucky were able to get to the second weekend.
You're right about that. And Modi Abate is playing more consistently, and he seems more into the groove. And Malachi Marino continues to grow. I thought the game looked slowed down for Malachi tonight, which was fun to see. All right, we were talking Colin Chandler. I don't think this ESPN page is updated, but how many thries did he have tonight? 6. So would that put him at 65 on the season at 43%, which again, that would be better. All right, that's Kobe Barea numbers from last year, folks. And everybody looks at him as this just like unbelievable three-point shooter. The best ever, Cameron Mills, only on 42 made threes, which is nothing really to sneeze at. But then again, from a percentage standpoint, that was 53%, over 53%. I'm going to round where necessary. Travis Ford at 93 was 53%. That's just nutty on 101 made threes. That's incredible. 53%. Good night. That would have been fun to watch. I was 2 years old. Reed Shepherd and 24 on 75 made threes. So Colin Chandler really is he was 52%. So I don't think Colin Chandler is going to get to 52%, but he can make more threes than Reed Shepherd made in his lone season at UK. Wouldn't that be something? Deron Lamb in 2011 was 49%. Good night on 68 made threes, and then he was 47% on the national title team. That helps, Zach Cantrell, when you've got
doesn't hurt
defender in the history of college basketball to go with a cool 47% three-point shooter out there. That's a solid duo. Some other familiar names. I'm just not going to read the list, but here I go reading the list. Antonio Reeves in 24 was a 45%. So you had Reed at 52% in 24. You had Reed Shepherd at 52%. You had Antonio Reeves at 45% and Rob Dillingham at 44%. And you didn't win a tournament game, you didn't win a postseason game. Ugh. That's disgusting to have those shooters on the same team. Ugh. That's pretty gross. Our guy Darius Miller in 2011 was 44%. So Colin Chandler's in pretty elite territory, folks. Like the best all time sort of deal. That's the season he's having. And heat up, right? It's March. That's the time to heat up. South End Josh, welcome into the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show with Zach Cantrell and TJ Walker. It's a good Saturday, buddy.
Hello.
Hello. You're on, Zach. Can you
Hello?
South End Josh? Sorry. Yep.
Hey, I'm here.
Yep. Can you hear us?
Hello, TJ. Hello, Zachary. Hello, Justin. Hello, dear friends.
There we go.
No, the wife and I made an impromptu trip up to Lexington for the game. I'm glad we did. Not a whole lot to complain about tonight. Really pleased with the performance today. It's the effort and the energy and the sense of urgency that I've been asking for all year. And if they can make shots like that and play with that intensity and that the defensive edge, I think they're going to be in good shape. I don't think they're going to make, an Elite Eight or a Final Four, but they can at least get out of the first weekend.
Yeah, and I think you have to have at least that as a fan in college basketball. You at least have to have the idea that we're just not going to get trounced game one and Selection Sundays just routine, or it's just like, whatever, you're going to say our name, but we're going to get blasted. I'm worried that Kentucky could, and I don't think they're totally out of this territory for what it's worth. I could see Kentucky getting boned on Selection Sunday, but I really don't want to be in that 8-9 game. I really don't want to be. The one seeds are just too good this year. And, I know Florida is not going to be a one seed, and I know Houston's not going to be a one seed. But give me those two teams along with Michigan and Duke, and I'd take those four, and you could have the rest of the field. And I'll put whatever sort of money you want. I hate it. I'm really scared Duke's going to win a national championship. And Michigan's, they're really, really good. They are super complete of a team. They were kind of reminding me a bit of 2012 UK when I was watching them last night. And then I'm just a Houston believer. I think they're going to turn it on. I know they're obviously going through a rough patch right now. And then Florida has turned it on, and their front court, they swallow everybody up. They're going to be such a tough out in March. And they may be a 3 seed. I think they may end up being a 2 when it's all said and done if they run through the SEC tournament, which they may not. They may not. They've struggled at different times. What time do they play Arkansas, Zach? That was
an 8 o'clock. It's an 8
o'clock.
I think 8:30, one of them.
Yeah. All right. What
TJ, the reason Florida might make the Final Four is because they just, they get 8 seconds in the lane when you're always supposed to have 3, and they foul everybody on rebounds. And I'd like to see Kelvin Sampson getting one, but I just don't know if they have enough offense to do it. And I would much rather prefer to see Michigan to win it. I don't know if Duke can win it. I don't think Duke will win it. I think it's probably Michigan's.
Well, I certainly hope Duke doesn't win it. I would take anybody over Duke in the country, in the world. I would take Iran. I'd take the military industrial complex over Duke. Anybody but Duke is always our household philosophy over here. That being said, I'm not a big Dusty May guy, but I'd gladly have them win it over Duke.
No, anybody but Michigan.
No, I'm sorry, Zach. I'm sorry.
Oh, Michigan, Zachary. Michigan will be fine.
No, not for me.
You'll be okay. You have a football national title. Settle down.
Arizona's really good. They'd probably be my 5th if I could throw 5 in, but you got to cut it off at some point. So I'd take those 4 and give the field the way. The atmosphere sounded great, South End, Josh. I don't, ESPN's broadcast. I like the crew of the game today, but
it was really good. Yeah, the atmosphere was really solid.
People crap on Rupp Arena, but I'll say this: the in-game experience is a lot of fun. They keep it moving. Where the college basketball game's supposed to be 2 hours, but you're going to be at an arena, let's just say 3 hours. You're going to get there a little bit early. The game's going to last a little longer than 2 hours. So for 3 hours, they make it go by pretty quickly. And you don't ever want to be I think they do a good job. I disagree, and I get to go to a ton of games because I'm doing a post-game show, obviously. But they play music. They're doing like different things on the jumbo, keeping you entertained.
TJ, the stuff they play in the middle of timeouts. They're playing like William Tell Overture, and like, what are we doing? It's just goofy stuff. I mean, it's lazy, but that's par for the course with this athletic department. But we're not going to be negative today. The crowd brought it. It was a big game Saturday, Rupp Arena atmosphere, and the fans brought it, and kids played well, and I think fed off that energy. And, I'm going to go back in here to Lex Live and have a couple sodas before we hit the road. And, we'll worry about A&M on Monday or Tuesday, whenever the hell we play them next.
I was going to give you some grief and be like, you got to always find a negative angle. But I will say the music choice from time to time is questionable at UK sporting events. I think they do a good job.
It's garbage. It's lazy.
And throwing a bunch of different stuff on there. But yeah, it's probably just somebody in their like early 60s that is just like, I've got a couple kids. I know what music is cool, and I'll play some of the classics too while I'm at it. So you had to have a little bit of a negativity spin there at the end.
It's not somebody in their 60s. It's our milquetoast AD that wants everything to be a rip-roaring good time of a sock hop and Sadie Hawkins dance. And, God,
and you win me back over taking a shot at Mitch Barnhart. You win me back over with the Mitch Barnhart shot. Keep going.
They play the dance. They do the dance team thing, and they're dancing to Let's Get Loud or whatever. For that song hasn't been popular since the 70s or 80s.
Let's get loud.
It's just... It's boring. It's goofy. It's just milquetoast, watered down, G-rated. It just sucks the life out of the stadium.
You want the dancers to show a little skin? You looking for more of a Lady Bird approach? Sometimes I have to cover my daughter's eyes if we go
dance to something. Dance to something that came out in the 2000s. Dance to something that came out in the 2000s. We ain't got to listen to this Sadie Hawkins bullcrap, man. But I'm going to get off here and go back inside and go Cats. Let's have a good night.
All right. Thank you so much for calling or DMing in South End Josh. Have fun. Be safe getting home. And South End Josh, Zach Cantrell says, shut up and dance. To
Yes.
something
Oh, we'll walk on the
he
moon there. How
listened
about that?
to. Yeah, no, I actually do. I think the in-game experiences used to be brutal at both Rupp Arena and Commonwealth Stadium or Kroger Field, but they've. And if you hear any stomping above me, my daughter is home. They had been out of the house, and now they're home. So you may hear somebody yell or scream. Everything's okay, I can assure you. But they've really made improvements, in my opinion. And again, I only get to maybe like a game or two a season because we're doing the post-game shows. And I love doing it. The Bud Light post-game show here on ESPN 680, ESPN Louisville Plus with Zach Cantrell, TJ Walker, Justin Sofaro. DM him. That's tough to say. Just go ahead, slide on in and just say, hey, I'd like to get in on the show, and they'd let you do that. All right, we can hit some superlatives here. Zach Cantrell, we already did the Twin Peaks player of the game. It was Colin Chandler, 23 points, 6 of 8 from deep, 1 turnover, 2 assists. I do think that's next for him, is that as teams are going to overextend and overplay him and give him more attention, he needs to be ready to put that ball on the floor and then dish it if he needs to dish it, because then he could have the defense on skates potentially, or he needs to be able to knock down that floater, like I said. KPG Glass, who hit the glass? Kentucky out-rebounded Vandy. And if you remember in the beatdown in Nashville, where Kentucky lost 80-55, Vandy said, we were making it a point of emphasis that we were going to be rough and tough with them. I think Kentucky remembered that today. They win on the glass, and Vandy definitely tried to go inside plenty. How many threes did they shoot? 28 threes, which is certainly a lot. But they still, if it wasn't threes, it was inside. Obviously not a lot of mid-range shots from the Commodores. And Kentucky held their own and then some and won the battle. So good for Malachi Marino. Like I said, he grew up. I'm pretty sure Brandon Garrison got a concussion. He got totally racked. I mean, that was, and rightfully so, a technical. Sound, I was at a buddy's place and we were flipping back and forth with sound between the U of L game. So what they call, I mean, just a technical, like a flagrant one or whatever, is that what they officially called?
Dead ball technical, because it wasn't in the shooting motion. So they called it a dead ball technical and a personal.
Okay, gotcha. Good deal. And then why did Vandy get some free throws on the? Did Pope get a technical or what on the when Colin Chandler like stuck his leg out? Then Vandy was shooting free throws with nobody there.
I missed that one. I saw that he did make the three and then they waved it off, obviously. And then I remember Vanderbilt just inbounded the ball. They might have had some free throws for something unrelated, but I'm pretty sure they just inbounded the ball at the spot.
Yeah, maybe I'm going crazy because there's nothing on the official stat sheet of like a Kentucky technical or anything like that. But I swear I saw Vandy guys shooting free throws with nobody there. But maybe it was just the angle. ESPN can be a little wonky with that, or I could have just not been paying attention. I don't want to put all the blame on them. But, okay. That Brandon Garrison got absolutely knocked. Malachi Marino, 6 rebounds. He led the Cats. That's not a ton, but it gets the job done. So we'll take it. The second leading rebounder. This has happened at other times this year. Team rebounds, dead ball rebounds with 5. It's kind of crazy. But you still win the rebounding battle. So who cares? We'll take it anyway. We can get it with the season the Cats have had. Lanning's points in the paint, 40-35. Vandy, like I said, if they weren't shooting threes, they were going inside. I still am happy with the way Kentucky battled. They didn't win the points in the paint. However, they did win perimeter, which that has been an issue, Zach Cantrell. They outshoot from the 3, 11 of 22, and Vandy 7 of 28. So there's an additional 12 points right there. So that's all right if you give up 6 in the paint because you win that battle between the perimeter and the paint, and you win the game comfortably. But Lanning's paints, we love them. There's no better paint in this town. Barnes Auto Service, basketball fixes, things you'd like to see fixed. Reliable repairs from bumper to bumper. I recommend heading on over to barnesautoservice.com. Don't worry about the old dealer. Go to Barnes Auto Service. Better there. What do you want to see fixed?
Maybe just finish the game better. But aside from that, today, not a whole lot of things need to be fixed. I mean, when you shoot 59%, you really clean up in the paint where they didn't get dominated. You make 11 threes, which is one of the highest totals of the season for this team. Ortega and, Aberdeen shot well, of course. Colin Chandler made a bunch of shots. Not a whole lot to complain about. Maybe open up the lanes a little bit. Maybe just continue to remain aggressive and put the ball in Oweh's hands and let him go downhill because he's difficult to stop when he gets a full head of steam. But today, I'm pretty content. I don't see a whole lot to fix today.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I would make the case that you want to win the turnover battle, but that's what Vandy specializes on, is trying to turn teams over. And while you'd like to see single digit turnovers at home, 11 is not too bad, and you tied. So you came out even there. Let's see what points off turnovers was. Kentucky won that battle 17-12. So yeah, we're being picky. You scored 91 points on a ranked team. You got a big win at home that you needed to get. You let the fan base happy. South and Josh didn't like the music. Is that Gloria Stefan? Let's get loud. I've got it stuck in my head now. We all probably have it stuck in our head a little bit, but it's a good Saturday, and UK fans deserve as many of them as we can get as the season is winding down. Just one more regular season Saturday game. There's no guarantee. If history tells us anything, Zach, unfortunately, maybe you don't see Saturday in Nashville. It used to be a guarantee. You could set your watch to it. That's always the day of the St. Patrick's Day parade in Louisville, which when you're like in your 20s, that was one of the top 5 days of the year. It was just an absolute. And when I was in my 20s, Kentucky was always playing on that Saturday and usually winning. I maybe only lost like one time, and they just beat teams down, and we'd be drinking green beer, and it was it was fun. Now we go to the St. Patrick's Day parade to like check out the floats and get candy for the kids, and try to leave before traffic gets too bad at a reasonable hour. And we haven't had to worry about Kentucky playing as of late. So got to have that change this year. It was basically going to be impossible if you started on Wednesday. If you start on Thursday, you can make it happen. Ideally, though, let's finish this thing out 2-0 and get that journey started on Friday as a top 4 seed, which used to just be a guarantee for Kentucky basketball. It needs to be again. It needs to be more likely Kentucky wins the SEC tournament than isn't a top 4 seed. So this has to turn around. It needs to get better overall. Injuries, obviously, Zach, I have to say it. I'm contractually obligated to do it. Injuries obviously have played a role this year, but just hasn't been the standard that Kentucky fans demand and expect. But a good win today. You can't change that in one game, but at least a step in the right direction and gives you a little optimism for a team that can make a run in March. Denzel Aberdeen, Oweh, and Colin Chandler, that can carry you, and that can beat good teams on any given night.
That's exactly
right.
They
fought their balls off. I hate to say it like that. Excuse me.
No, you don't. But no, like if this game had gone differently, people would be having conversations about Jaden Quaintance's dad, but we can wait till Monday to do that because we don't need to dignify that today.
So what did he mean? What did he mean by that? Let's at least just touch on it. Like, did he mean that Jaden would be surprised to see that is that his way of being like, well, that would be news to him because he's got some guarantees?
Essentially, yes.
If you have no idea what we're talking about, Jaden Quaintance's dad quote tweeted some article about Jaden dropping to 29 in the draft, which isn't unreasonable to think. Like, it wasn't going to be a guarantee. And Zach, I actually think you've been saying that like, it's not a guarantee he's going to be a lottery. Just because one mock draft has him a lottery, teams are going to be a little bit nervous about this dude. And it's not like offense is his strength in a game that you have to be good offensively. So there's now updated mock drafts that have him in the back end of the first round. Who was it? Was it Mike DeCourcy? Somebody came out and said that they thought it may be more likely that he comes back for another year of college basketball somewhere, which wouldn't that be something? Would you want to roll the dice? That is radio topic right there. That's message board topics. Would you want Jaden Quaintance back? And the obvious answer is absolutely yes. Oh, but he sat out. The dude, it hasn't even been a full year. It's now been like 10 months since he tore his knee. They had unrealistic expectations. I do think that knee swelling isn't a factor, Zach. Like, for as much as he could go against St. John's, I think he could go on Tuesday. And that's just my opinion. I've obviously no inside source, and I don't, it isn't. So like I'm playing both sides of the fence here. It is a major knee injury. However, he looked good at times, not all the time. He also looked bad at different times, but he did some good things. And then he's gone all of a sudden. And he's gone all of a sudden after his dad goes on Twitter complaining about how he's being used. And you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to realize that, like, oh, okay, this could be a protect your stock sort of thing, which is, if it's your kid and you're talking about millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, and maybe if this thing works out, hundreds of millions of dollars, you'd be protective too. It's just Kentucky fans, we were just burned time and time again. I'd still welcome him back. We talked about Cam Williams a little bit earlier. I'd still welcome him back this season, even in like a 10, 15, 20-minute capacity if he wanted to. And you could make the case that, like, adding these pieces, you just talked about how basketball is a dance and a rhythm, and you're starting to figure it out, and the chemistry is starting to look good. Would you want to disrupt that with Cam Williams and Jaden Quaintance? When you're coming in as like a 6 or a 7 or an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament, yeah, you roll the dice. If you're like a 1 or 2 seed and everything's going great and you're dominating, then you may be a little bit more nervous about it. But when you've had the season that you've had, and we're looking right now, maybe like an Elite Eight's the ceiling, they could make a Final Four. That's not like, matchups matter, right? If you got Loyola Chicago in the Elite Eight like it was 2018, you'd feel decent about that game. So you never really know what March Madness has in store for you. But just realistically speaking, I could see them winning 3 tournament games. I think 4 is probably where I would draw the line, but you never know. And that's better, right? After some games this season, Zach, we wondered if they were even going to be a tournament team. So moving in the right direction. Greg Zeller says, I think it meant Ryder is going to be surprised because he's not coming back. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Maybe that could be exactly what that is. And that Pope forced him back early. Well, I'll say this, and this is just a scuttlebutt I hear from other writers and other, we do guests and people talk behind the scenes. It does seem like the scuttlebutt is that they were disappointed in Pope that they didn't play Jaden Quaintance more, that they were holding Jaden Quaintance back and he wasn't getting enough tape, and they were disappointed in that. And then that somehow morphed into they were disappointed in how he was being used. And it could be a combination of all those things. And also it could just be like some doctor was just like, dude, what are you doing? What are you thinking playing right now? You're young. You got your whole future ahead of you. Why would you rush back? Who knows? It could be a mixture of all that. All we know is he's not playing. But Malachi Marino's playing better. How about that? And Brandon Garrison iced that bad boy. That's gonna leave a mark. And it was a dirty play. All right, what do we got next here? We've got the SEC Conference standings delivered by Louisville Ladder, built to be above, Zach Cantrell.
Yeah, and they're a little bit better than they were a couple of days ago. So Florida, of course, leads at the very top. They can clinch the SEC title with a win tonight against Arkansas. Alabama and Arkansas tied for second at 11-4 in the conference. Tennessee 10-5. Missouri and Kentucky now tied 10-6. Right now, Missouri would get the 5 seed. Kentucky would get the 6th, obviously because of the head-to-head earlier in the season. Texas A&M is 9-6 in the SEC right now. They're currently playing against Texas. Tight one in the second half there. Vanderbilt drops to 9-7, so you got a full game now on the Commodores. Texas is 8-7 in conference play. Georgia drops to 7-8. Auburn is 6-9. Mississippi State 5-11 in conference standings. Oklahoma 4-11, and the last 3, LSU, South Carolina, and Ole Miss, all bring up the rear at 3-12 in SEC play. And those are your SEC conference standings, brought to you by Louisville Ladder.
All right, thank you, Zach. Moving on here on the Bud Light Kentucky postgame show, the Cats beat Vanderbilt 91-77. We're on ESPN Louisville Plus. Shout out to Justin Sofaro for making sure we sound good and having the guest on that slid into his DMs to get on to our little postgame show. UPS Jobs, top 25 scoreboard. Join the shift at UPS Jobs. Apply today at upsjobs.com/worldport.
So we'll start with the games that have already concluded. Number 1, Duke dominates number 11, Virginia, 77-51. That was a big spread, but it still seemed like easy money because it absolutely was. Number 5, Houston bounces back in a big way and beats Colorado 102-62. They were mad after that 3-game losing streak.
Easy money there, too. You knew that they were going to get right eventually.
Yeah, UConn had to come back a little bit. They were down 8 in the second half to Seton Hall, but they rallied back to win it 71-67. Clemson beats number 24 in Louisville 80-75. Pat Kelsey, his seat's about to get a little bit warmer, and maybe some more terse questions from Matt McGavick on Monday.
Can't win.
They cannot so far. Kentucky beats number 25 Vanderbilt 91-77. games going on right now. Kansas coming back in it a little bit against Arizona, 49-43. Actually, now just 49-45 with 13 minutes to go. Arizona was on top very early on in that game. I think they were up by as much as 20, but here come the Jayhawks to make that a competitive game. Number 16, Texas Tech on the road, beating number 4, Iowa State, 49-37. A little bit of a surprise up in Hilton Coliseum. We've seen Iowa State, though, come back in a few games at home this year, so don't count them out. Number 12, Nebraska leads USC 43-30 with 15 minutes to go in the second half out there. Some games later on tonight. Game about to tip off. Thinking ahead to football season, all right. Tip off in Morgantown as number 19 BYU hits the road to take on West Virginia. That'll be in just a matter of moments. Alabama will take on number 17 Alabama against number 22 Tennessee. That'll be a 6 o'clock game on ESPN. So that'll be after the Kansas-Arizona game concludes. Tonight in New York, it'll be number 15 St. John's taking on Villanova in an old school Big East battle. Number 23 St. Louis takes on Duquesne. Later on, that'll be an 8 o'clock game. At 8:30, it'll be number 7 Florida taking on number 20 Arkansas down at the Stephen O'Connell Center, the game that Game Day went to earlier today. Number 18 North Carolina takes on Virginia Tech at 8:30. And then 10:30 for all the night owls. Number 9 Gonzaga hits the road to St. Mary's to take on the Gales. That's always one of the more entertaining games every year, especially in the West Coast Conference. So that'll be at 10:30 tonight. That is UPS Jobs Top 25 Scoreboard.
Their swan song, potentially, unless they meet in the conference tournament as West Coast Conference opponents before Gonzaga goes to the Pac-12. So that's a rivalry that maybe you see in the out-of-conference potentially, but that was always for many, many, many years, Zach Cantrell, when you couldn't fall asleep. What's on? Oh, it's Gonzaga St. Mary's. This is a fun one.
Oh, yeah. Always
Certainly
seem to play three times. They play 3 times every year because they're always in the West Coast Conference Final, too, because no one else in that conference is any good. So this is the second of 3 meetings, it seems like.
And the way that I remember it is like 95% of the time, Gonzaga wins all 3 of those matchups. St. Mary's, when they would win, it'd always be a bit surprising. I think
they win the home game. Yeah, they win at home every now and then. They just don't win at Gonzaga, and usually they don't win in the West Coast tournament.
No, but they are only 1.5-point dogs tonight. So Vegas thinks that they certainly have a chance, and they do. Gonzaga lost on the road to Portland, and now they came back and beat them by 40 in the return game at Gonzaga. But if you can lose to Portland on the road, you can lose to certainly a good St. Mary's team that will be in the NCAA tournament. All right, let's wrap things up here. What to watch, presented by Boom Boss Pizza and Watch Bar Pizza, Beer Sports. Obviously, that Gonzaga St. Mary's game, but Arkansas, Florida. What does Calipari have? A big dog. I said 9.5 earlier. I'm looking at it now. It's now at 10.5 points. Arkansas is a good, talented team. Florida's playing like a wagon. What Vegas is thinking is that Arkansas lets go of the rope here a little bit and isn't overly competitive. That would surprise me. But I think right now most of the money's coming in on Arkansas because people think it's too many points for a talented Arkansas team. And John Calipari, who's experienced playing in Gainesville. So that's what I'm excited to watch tonight. There's obviously some SEC implications. UK fans, you should be rooting for Florida to just go ahead and run away with the SEC. Kentucky, obviously, you can't catch them. But you'd have the tiebreaker over Arkansas if you can get them. There are a couple games or a game and a half ahead of you. So a loss there would be beneficial. So you got to root against the head hog. And then Tennessee, Alabama, I don't know. I haven't really totally broken down the SEC standings, but just keep winning, right? Keep winning, and that will take care of itself, Zach.
No, that's exactly right. Just go out and handle your business. I said if you won 2 of your last 3, it's a success. I still think that's the case. I think they got a really good chance on Tuesday night against A&M. And then you go into the Florida game with kind of an opportunity just to more or less improve your NCAA tournament seed. And if you beat Florida, that's a statement because I think we all know how good the Gators are. I recently rewatched the game last year, one of the more entertaining college basketball games in recent memory, the 106-100 game in Rupp Arena last year. So that's going to be a fun one next week. But really an opportunity for Kentucky. They needed this game. I called it a must-win yesterday, and they went out and got it done. They treated it like it was a must-win, and I think it's their best overall performance of the season and one that I think has people recalibrating what they think Kentucky's potential is as far as March is concerned.
Absolutely. If you can do that against a solid Vanderbilt team, then why not? We'll see what's in store for Florida. But win on Tuesday. Keep this going, and certainly don't get embarrassed at Texas A&M. That's a wonky place to play. Kentucky's, it's been a bit of a mixed bag on the road. I would imagine that it's going to be Texas A&M senior night. I don't think that they will be home on Saturday, so maybe they're playing with a bit of extra juice. But at the surface, it reminds me a little bit of the Missouri game from last year, where Kentucky was going into Missouri, a team that was not fighting for its NCAA tournament life, but was playing good basketball, getting ready for March. Texas A&M has stumbled a little bit, but they should still be a tournament team. Kentucky was ready for that one against Missouri last year, so hopefully Mark Pope and the gang will have something in store. And that Auburn game, they should have won. That was a road game. That was a tough environment, all those things. And they did everything right there until the final 15 seconds, if you will. And then Mark Pope's press conference. Oh, geez, Louise. All right, Zach Cantrell, have a great Saturday, buddy. And then
a rare Saturday off for us. Let's go.
I know. How about that? Everybody, thank you for listening, and those that participated in the show. Have a great weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you on Tuesday night back on ESPN 680. For Zach Cantrell, I'm TJ Walker, and thank you to Justin Sofaro. ESPN Louisville Plus, ESPN 680, the Kentucky Bud Light postgame show.